Welcome to Suriname. This is just such a wonderful country and I could live here forever. Goedemiddag, it's Suriname. That's how the people would say good day, because they're going to speak Dutch here. And luckily I can speak a little bit Dutch because I was studying 4 years in the Netherlands. So I enjoyed my time very much here in this country, which is the smallest country in South America, and for me my first country in South America. I flew straight from Trinidad and Tobago to here because it was the cheapest flight, and then I go and take the route by land. So I'm going to leave tonight to Georgetown in Guyana, my next destination. And now I want to review my time here in Suriname. I spent the entire time only in Paramaribo, which is the capital and the biggest city by far in the country. Everything else are just villages and jungle. So in this city there's a lot to see, but not a lot to do. It's very multicultural. You have Muslims, you have Indonesians, you have Chinese, you have Africans, and you have Europeans. I think it's one of the most multicultural cities in the world, and I really enjoyed my time here. It was really interesting. But as I said, there are not many activities. I think the first cinema was founded just a few years ago. Although they do have shopping malls, and it's a very developed country in certain aspects. For example, most places are air conditioned, the traffic is very good, you have an app like Uber, but problem is most places do not accept credit card. That's about it. You can pay by credit card, it's not really cashless, but everything else is very developed. They even have McDonald's and Burger King, Pizza Hut, Popeyes, and many other brand restaurants, many brand stores, mostly restaurants. So you won't find Zara or H&M here, but these other things. So it is already more developed than the Caribbean, or maybe similar developed than Trinidad and Tobago. The best thing about Suriname is the friendliness of the people. People are really warm-hearted and kind, and it's also safer than most other countries here in South America. It's not like Europe, but it's much safer. You can walk at night, even in the more shady districts, like where I live. I don't know if this is a shady one, but it's not the best. And people are really nice. So I'm here in a Brazilian neighborhood actually. So what can you do here in Suriname? What can you do here in Paramaribo? First off, in Suriname you can go to the jungle. You can go to the so-called binnenland, which should be really great in terms of nature, but I skipped this part because it is not so cheap. But I'm also going to see the jungle of the Amazon in Brazil and in other places in South America, so I skipped it for now. Because I also had a wonderful time here in Paramaribo. I just enjoy going out because the best thing about Suriname is that it's relatively cheap. They're having an economic crisis, and therefore the currency exchange is not so good, and inflation is high, but it is quite affordable. It's much cheaper than Jamaica or Trinidad and Tobago, and it's really convenient in that sense. The internet is usually good, but it's not too fast. So depending on where you stay, you might not have the fastest internet. So my first Airbnb apartment, I had a horrible internet connection, and that's why I had to move really quickly. And now I found a wonderful place. And it's only $10 a night, so it's possible to find a good deal. And because nature is the highlight of this country, you can see trees on every note. So it is basically reflecting the culture. Before in Trinidad there were birds, and in Jamaica they were like slaves. So it's all really interesting to see what's depicted on the money. So pay attention next time you travel, because in the beginning I also didn't pay so much attention to it, but it's in fact really interesting. It's also a great conversation starter. Just ask, what is this thing on the money here, because there's not always an explanation. Food is also really fantastic here in Suriname. It is because it's such a multicultural country. It is so diverse. You can find all kinds of food. For American food in restaurants, you have the Indonesian food, bami goreng, nasi goreng, all this kind of stuff. Then you have Dutch food, pannenkoeken, pancakes, or poffertjes, even no frikandels though. And then they have their own cuisine, which is like fried bananas and some other plants. I don't know how to call them. Pom, I think it's one of the dishes, and it's really delicious. So it's a food heaven here. A price heaven, it is quite safe. So for me, it is the most liberal country I have visited this year. But what about the activities? So if you don't go to the jungle, what can you do here in Paramaribo? So what I did, I went to the zoo, because I love animals and I live very close to it. And it was only less than $3, and it was really interesting because in fact they only had domestic animals. But those domestic animals are really exotic in Europe. Like I found a jaguar. You could go really close to the cage. It was really interesting to get, like you could put your finger between the bars. You cannot do this in a European zoo. I'm afraid to be too close, you know. Can you scratch me? Then you have lots of birds, obviously, crocodiles and monkeys. So it was really interesting, and I enjoyed my time very much in the zoo. You also have really good nightlife here, and the beer is not so expensive, but I don't really drink. So I didn't go out too much, just once. And for me, nightlife is not, it shows some culture, but it's more similar between other countries. And I'm not a person who go out much at night, but these days when I went out, we played pool, and yeah, you can get a beer for €1, $1.20, and yeah, it's really affordable way to have fun. That's why I like it here so much, because the prices are quite good, it is safe, and people are super friendly. And before I came here, I didn't even heard of Suriname, even though I'm a Dutch learner. So I only knew that they speak Dutch in South Africa, which they call Afrikaans, but here they speak really Dutch, and I can understand most of it, which is really convenient, and I can talk with the people. So that's why I enjoy this country so much. But I think even without being able to speak Dutch, it is a great destination for travelers. But the highlight of my journey was a cultural event about Aborigines. Because before the Dutch people came, it was actually this country of these Aborigines. And yeah, the Dutch killed a lot of them, that mistreated them. Bad Europeans, shame on you. And they had a festival where those people could represent their culture. It was very interesting with food and how to dress up. I met a shaman, and it was really nice because I can also I took also interviews with the local people, and I was talking like with this shaman lady.
It's me.
That's really interesting. So
yes.
It's like a shaman.
That's a shaman. That's what I told the shaman.
Okay. So are you a shaman?
Yes.
Oh, I see. And what inspired you to become a shaman?
You don't get inspired. It's a calling by nature.
Yeah, some other lady I met there, and also with my friend Ian and his girlfriend Cheyenne from Couchsurfing. Ian.
Yeah, so you guys should visit Suriname because the food here is good. The weather is nice. The sun is always shining, or not always, but 90% of the time.
I love that the people are always friendly. The food here is like no other place.
Okay, the food is great, the weather is good, and the people.
Yeah.
And how about politics?
Oh, the politics kind of suck for the moment, but I have hope that it will get better.
They're really amazing people, and thank you so much for taking good care of me. Yeah. So before this event, they actually took me to a baby shower. I never know what is a baby shower party, so I didn't dress up properly. I went there, and it was really nice though. It had food, and everybody gave the bride presents. Yeah? So it was very interesting to see. I think it's also a common thing in the US, but they won't celebrate this in Germany or in Taiwan, or maybe not so often. I think they do have some of these things. Rockabye, baby. He plays really well.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to this event. It was really nice to see how the Aborigines represented their culture, and it was really fun. I enjoyed this day, took good photos. There was a lot of cultural things, like they had a dance performance. And even the president came. The president is another really interesting thing. he's a wanted man. He's very corrupt and he's wanted in other countries, but here he's safe. So the president is wanted for his drug trafficking, and they also call him the Pablo Escobar of Suriname.
Deze journey. Ik wil u vragen om u mee te nemen op deze reis welke ik al jaren meemaak.
And it's really funny that he's the president now, and people even voted for him after this kind of stuff happened. I will not give my opinion on him. I saw him having a speech, and he looks alright, but I don't know much about him. So it's just an interesting topic. I just forgot his name as well. I have to look it up. On this cultural event, you can also see how this shaman gave blessing to other people. It is almost like a baptism, you know. He puts like this holy water, but he also smokes some drugs, and then he blows it inside, and then he pours it over the head. Yeah. So my friend actually said that these drugs make them really, really high, but I think it was impossible because he was walking the whole day. Also traffic here, lots of scooters going around, so it can be a bit noisy. So there are also a lot of casinos in this country. So people love gambling, and I think a lot of, I don't know if Dutch people would come here because they also have casinos. But yeah, they have, I don't know, 20, 30 casinos in this small city. The entire country only have 500,000 people, and I think it's one of the most densest countries for casinos on per capita. Yeah, it's really nice. I visited one casino just to take a look. They had free soup, but that's it. Yeah, it is a very safe country, but crime do occur, that it is South America, and just the casino over there, the Savannah Casino is from where I live. I'm living here in the Brazilian district, which got robbed 7 years ago, and you also can find some videos on YouTube, which is pretty scary because it's so close. But in fact, if you just check the news, this country is really safe, much safer than Jamaica and Trinidad, and also safer than Guyana. It's also really interesting that you have all these colonial buildings. So the highlights here are actually the architecture in this country. Because it's all from the Dutch past, mostly wooden houses, and it's just really beautiful, I would say, in the city to see this kind of architecture. In the Fort Zeelandia, where I've just been today and took the tour. The only problem with Suriname is that it's very difficult to leave. They have flights to Europe, direct flights to Amsterdam, but these are super expensive, and then you can just go to Trinidad, and that's it. So that's why I have to leave by land. So it's a very inconvenient way to get out of it, on a budget. Lots of people riding scooter, and local buses are also quite convenient, but because taxis are so cheap, I always use this app and went around by taxi. But I also rented a bicycle, fiets, they say in Netherlands, and it was just $1 a day and very convenient. Unfortunately today it got a flat tire, so I couldn't go to the gym, but it's still very nice. The only thing is that they don't have really bike paths, so you have to go with the cars, and the roads can be quite narrow. Traffic is alright, although not the best, so the best way to get around is in fact by taxi. They also have many very convenient supermarkets. The biggest one I've seen is called Tulip, and they have things like a 200-gram Nescafe for less than $5, and then they have fish for a bit more than $1, like 400 gram of mackerel, and basically everything here is really cheap, except a few import products like apples and things. And they also have lots of food which you can find in the Netherlands, like at Jan Linders of Albert Heijn or Jumbo. And these things are quite cheap here. In fact, you have energy drink for 40 cents. In Europe it's going to cost them maybe 30, 35. So it's just a little bit more, and it's a really good deal. Also, cashews, 200-gram cashews, $1.50. That's amazing. So everything is great here, and that's why I love it so much. And I could really spend months here, and it wouldn't get bored. And there's actually so much I haven't seen. So hopefully I can come back in the future. Maybe a direct flight from Amsterdam when I have more money. And see also French Guiana, which I skipped this time, since you need in fact a tourist card to come here, which you can only get at the airport or at the embassy in advance. This tourist card costs $40. I only brought 35 when I came because they just raised the prices recently, and on the website of the German Bureau of Tourism they said it's only 35, so I brought 35, and then they said it was not enough. Yeah, then we can send you a passport to the city and you pay it there. But there was a very nice lady, she saw I only need $5, so she helped me change it because there was an ATM before the immigration, which is in fact also very rare. Also local SIM cards are really cheap with local internet, you can buy them at the airport, at the baggage tray, the baggage line. It's also, I never saw that they're selling SIM cards. Usually all this kind of stuff is after the custom, but not here in Suriname. Here things are a little different. En that's why I also like this country so much. Nederlands is een leuke taal en dit is een leuke country, een mooie country. I really like this country and I wanted to come again. Let's see in the future. So thank you very much for watching and stay tuned. Guyana is coming up next and a lot of other South American countries.